much of how we are gauged in terms of who we are is on our behavior. And that's actually one of the major ways that we just sort of assess whether or not somebody would be a useful partner or somebody to know in one situation or another or in many situations.
The human brain, an intricate masterpiece of nature, never ceases to captivate scientists and philosophers alike. Its enigmatic workings have intrigued countless generations, sparking an insatiable curiosity to comprehend the depths of human behavior and responses. The catalyst for this pursuit lies in the bewilderment surrounding the variations in individuals' reaction to identical stimuli. Why do some people succumb to the clutches of alcohol addiction while others seem impervious? What predisposes certain souls to melancholy, violence, or self-harm, while others channel their passions into artistic or athletic endeavors? These questions loom large, and they find their answers within the human brain's labyrinthian corridors. Intriguingly, it is within our genes that we find diversity, influencing our proclivities and forging unique paths to success.
The stability of self is a very mysterious but very pervasive theme in neuroscience. I mean, you wake up every day and depending on how you feel about yourself, you might feel better or worse, but you're you every day. You recognize yourself. What is you is, that's certainly not going to be anchored in one brain area. We know this is going to be a network of activity. There are cases, of course, of multiple personality and things of that sort, but exceedingly rare. Our self-percept is often very different than other people's perception of us. I don't want to out him, but we have a member of our podcast team who, to me, is just like the calmest person in the world. And he manages an incredibly complicated life with immense grace. He's extremely talented in his work. He's just an incredible human being. But if you ask him a bit more about his internal world, if he's feeling, like he wants to share a bit, he'll say, yeah, internally, it's just chatter. There's tons going on. But externally, I experience him as one of the calmest people I know. And I think a lot of people see themselves or feel themselves as anxious when in reality, the way they emerge in the real world is very, very different from their internal percept. So that's the first thing to recognize. Conversely, a lot of people who think they're incredible might not be perceived as incredible. And we could have a whole conversation about narcissists some other time, because that's a real thing, right? I mean, narcissists sort of exploit the reactions of other people and the commitments and allegiances or lack of allegiances of other people in order to feed this very squishy internal ego, right, that they have. Their self-concept is actually very weak, but they come across often as very dominant and in control. And we're getting better at recognizing who those people are. And the interesting thing is they probably don't realize that they are the way they are, despite the thousands, if not tens of thousands of videos about narcissists on YouTube and elsewhere. So narcissists aside, the reality is that much of how we are gauged in terms of who we are is on our behavior and how calm people perceive us to be or how stressed people perceive us to be in a bunch of different contexts. And that's actually one of the major ways that we just sort of assess whether or not somebody would be a useful partner or somebody to know in one situation or another or in many situations. We're very good at subconsciously perceiving other people's level of autonomic arousal through things like pupil dilation. I'm talking a lot now, so I might be more flushed than usual, but it's contextual, right? It's contextual. We're here and we're talking a lot. So you also gain knowledge over time and you realize that, when this person is in this situation, they occupy this kind of level of arousal in that situation, that level of arousal, and so on.
The journey of Andrew Huberman, a luminary in the realm of neuroscience, began to flourish during his formative college years, a time when the field of neuroscience was still evolving, awaiting recognition as a cohesive discipline of study. During this period, Huberman's academic path intertwined with his deepening interest in the intricacies of the brain. A course on biopsychology proved to be the catalyst, introducing him to the captivating realm of thermal regulation and addiction biology. However, his senior project truly marked the genesis of his profound exploration into the vast and complex domain of neuroscience. Delving into uncharted territories, Huberman embarked on a research endeavor focused on the efforts of MDMA, colloquially known as ecstasy, on body temperature.
If ever there was a truth in neuroscience, is that the nervous system can change in response to experience. The more heightened or critical that experience is, the faster those changes are going to occur. So that just leads me to a place where I'd say, how crucial is it to change one's behavior and therefore one's identity is probably going to dictate whether or not you're able to do it or not. I think about that show Mad Men, where he basically takes on a completely different life and persona, and he was able to maintain that and this secret that he was actually somebody else for a long enough period of time. But it's through behaviors that people gauge us, and then we start to gauge ourselves.
As Huberman continued his scientific odyssey, he ventured into uncharted realms, unraveling the profound impact of our eyes on our overall well-being. Beyond their role as mere windows to the world, the eyes emerged as gatekeepers, holding the power to regulate our sleep-wake cycles. In a remarkable revelation, Huberman's research shed light on the intricate dance between our eyes, the perception of light, and the influence on our mental and physical health. Our eyes, as it turns out, possess a remarkable ability to sense the presence or absence of sunlight, providing critical information to our brain about the time of the day. This information, in turn, orchestrates our alertness or our sleep patterns, ensuring synchronization with the natural rhythms of the world around us. Disruptions in this delicate light perception process can lead to profound mood disturbances, underscoring a profound connection with light exposure and mental well-being.
The nervous system is paying attention to its own actions. It's kind of a case of cognitive dissonance, and it's what your actions do in some sense define you, both to people outside of you and to oneself. There's this concept in psychoanalysis of the introject, which I find fascinating. The introject is this idea that we can subconsciously embody the reactions of somebody else. So, one thing that fascinates me now that I'm a bit more involved in sort of online interactions and social media is the tremendous number of really inspiring people out there. Now, one version of that is to think, oh, that's inspiring. It shifts my autonomic arousal so I can get up at 4:30 in the morning like Jocko and like get after it and do this stuff. And frankly, there've been times when I'll see a social media post and I'm like, I'm being lazy. I should really push a little harder. So we could consider that inspiration. But then the idea of the analyst that I think is appropriate, and keep in mind that while Freud, there were many issues with him and Jung and analysis, they did have a heavy interest in physiology as the root of the subconscious. And there's this idea of the introject is fascinating to me because what it says is that if you consume enough of that content, if you read enough books about people who have embarked on certain kinds of journeys and made certain choices, that at some point you might introject some of their personality and their responses and subconsciously start making decisions, hopefully positive decisions, on your own behalf, maybe having more appropriate boundaries, maybe taking better self-care or care of other people. And that without even realizing it, you're starting to make better choices on your own behalf. And then at some point, you move from the introject to a recognition that, wait, it was me that made that change. I'm the one that managed to get up a bit earlier and do a little bit more, or to be kinder in this context, or to listen a little bit better in this context. And over time, we start to ascribe those changes to ourselves. So this is a more gradual shift in personality and this story of who one is. But I think it's a powerful one. And I like it because, we hear so much today about the negativity that's out there and how to navigate the just onslaught of negative news and negative interactions online. And for that reason, I really make an effort to really focus on the kind of the bright shining lights out there, because I do think that the information that we consume sets the internal context of our subconscious and sets the internal context for what we decide to do consciously. And in many ways, it's sort of like garbage in, garbage out. And if it's, positive stories and inspiration that's how you're basically going to react in the world.
Among the many, many groundbreaking discoveries in the field of neuroscience, the revelation of the courage circuit stands as a monumental milestone in the understanding of the brain's response to threats. This groundbreaking study shed light on the mechanisms underlying the innate human ability to press forward in the faces of danger or challenges. Remarkably, it's discovered that such acts of courage trigger the release of dopamine, a neurochemical often associated with feelings of reward or pleasure. This intricate reward system served as an evolutionary adaptation, motivating individuals to confront future threats and navigate through life's treacherous terrain. The surge of dopamine acts as the catalyst, propelling you to strive towards your goals, overcome adversity, and persevere in the face of challenges.
No one tells you don't meditate, you'll lose your mind. But in the 70s and 80s and 90s, it was thought that was all like magic carpet woo-woo stuff. But now, we know, for instance, I'll just use this as an opportunity. Meditation, where you sit and you focus on something for 5 or 10 minutes, is very good at improving your focus. If you're somebody with ADHD, that's a great tool. And it's hard, but that refocusing is really great to do. 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day even. But it is not a great tool for solving problems, okay? For solving a problem or rewiring your brain to be less fearful, eliminate insomnia, happier, hypnosis is very powerful. And then if you're somebody who's just really fatigued and run down, then I recommend doing what's called NSDR, which is non-sleep deep rest, or yoga nidra, which is where you just lie there and listen to a script for about 10 to 30 minutes at a time, anywhere from 1 to 7 times per week. And if you want to find some good NSDR scripts, there's one, humility aside, I read it. It's called, just put my name, Huberman, and NSDR into YouTube, and you can access that free.
Oh, wow.
So remember, meditation is for improving focus. Hypnosis, self-hypnosis is for solving a particular problem, and NSDR, aka Yoga Nidra, is for replenishing energy. It's been shown that after about 10 to 30 minutes of NSDR, your dopamine levels rise in the brain to a point where you're ready for action again. It can actually help you replace sleep that you're not getting.